guys, welcome back to ASMR Money Mentor. And for those of you that are new to my channel, thank you so much for being here. Today we're going to be talking about the 5 simple money tips for 20 and 30 somethings. And you know what? That might be you. You might be 20 years old. You may be 25 years old or 30. And if you are, this episode is for you. And before we get started, this topic idea came from a subscriber. So I wanted to thank that person for the idea. And you guys could do the same. Put notes in the comments down below. What kinds of things would you like to see me talk about? For those of you that are new to my channel, I was broke at 4 years old. I'm 58 years old today. It took me about 15 to 18 years to get to $1 million net worth. I like to teach people how they can do the same. I'm not a financial advisor. I don't want to be a financial advisor. I just like to talk about money. And I like to help young people like you. Maybe you guys are my sons and daughters that I never had. Is that creepy? Oh well, it might be, but who cares, right? I just feel that, by sharing my experience, then I can help others do really well with money as well. And so, I'm doing this in an ASMR format. And of course, you can probably hear the lawn people. Can you hear that? Maybe it contributes to the ASMR format. Hopefully it's relaxing for you. Because by the way, you should be putting me on your bedstand. Yeah, put your phone on the bedstand. Let this video play. Relax. I know it gets stressful sometimes when we talk about money. And so I want this channel to be a very calm place for you to come and listen to me ramble about money. One more thing before we get started, I created a playlist. So if you click the playlist column, you'll see that the episodes go back quite a ways, documenting my journey from the year 2004 all the way through 2024. So you may want to go check those out. But let's move on now and talk about the 5 simple money tips that I have for 20 and 30 somethings. The first thing I want to say, many of you know if you've been with my channel, I made so many financial mistakes when I was younger. I mean, I truly did. And a lot of times I talk about it on my channel. It's taken me years to be able to accept the fact that I was a financial train wreck. I'm not proud that I claimed bankruptcy when I was 29 years old. If I could go back and change it, I would. Some people have commented on my channel before. They're like, why listen to a guy that, went bankrupt? What does he know? Well, I know that I was able to learn from that experience. I know that I learned from it and I changed the trajectory of my future. So for those of you watching right now, and if you are struggling, you need to know that change is possible. But it takes you to make that change happen. So, the first thing I want to say for the 5 simple money tips for 20 and 30 somethings is, you really have to have awareness. That's the first thing I want to talk about in today's episode, is that you must have awareness into where you are right now. Again, you may be 20 has a way of, what's the word I'm looking for? Time has a way of obviously moving on, and suddenly 5 years goes by. And if you don't stop and say, you know what, how did my monetary situation change from 1 year to this 5th year? Or did it not change? Did it change or did it not? You need to have that awareness right now to know that you have an ability to make changes. So a lot of times I like to take walks. I go walking in my neighborhood and I look at the houses and I think to myself, Evan, are those people really doing great with money? Or do they just have big mortgages and nice cars in the driveway? Which may be true. I mean, look around right now, maybe at yourself or your friends on Instagram and all these other platforms. They may not be doing as well as you think. So stop right now and just have awareness to be able to see through people, to be able to look at people with a fresh set of eyes and say to yourself, self, I wonder if they're really doing well. Like, what is their net worth? Or do they just have a high income and they're spending it all? Because how does that help your future? It doesn't. It keeps you stuck, meaning that you always have to have a paycheck coming in, and we don't want that. We want to get to a point where we can sustain ourselves and not have a paycheck. So number one, for the 5 simple money tips for 20 and 30 somethings, which is you, is to have that awareness. Number 2, listen, you're going to have to build a budget. You're going to have a budget, and you're going to have to track every penny that you have. I mean, seriously. You guys know that I like the book called The Millionaire Next Door. I also learned a lot from Susie Orman's money book for the young, fabulous, and broke. If you've been around on my channel, you know that, right? There are other books. In fact, a subscriber recently asked me that question. He said, what books would you recommend? I told him The Millionaire Next Door. Oh, and also J.L. Collins, The Simple Path to Wealth, is an amazing book. I would highly encourage you guys to take a look at that book. I believe he started writing letters to his daughter about money, and that then transformed into a book. So, a wonderful concept. He's a great person. So I would highly recommend J.L. Collins' The Simple Path to Wealth. Now, while you're reading those books, you do have to then stop and say, I need a budget. Like you guys know, my net worth is $1.5 million. I still have a budget. I've got episodes on my channel where I talk about building a budget, and I still use my Excel spreadsheet every day. I build the budget in advance of the year coming, and then I spend from it, and I track every single penny. Just because you get to $1 million net worth doesn't mean that you stop doing that. Why do you think people have money? It's because they know what's going on, right? And by the way, The Millionaire Next Door concept, that book, is really great information, but what is so powerful about those words, the millionaire next door, is not so much what the book taught me per se. It's that every day I say to myself, or I told myself when I was broke, that I wanted to become the millionaire next door. Does that make sense? By you telling yourself that all the time, that you will become something that you're not, that you're not going to settle for what you are. You're going to accept what you are, but you're going to believe in a future self that is better and more resilient to be able to withstand and survive very tough times in the future, because we'll it will keep you on track for multiple years. See, I love talking about money. I'm getting off track probably. Number 3, for the 5 simple money tips for 20 and 30 somethings is, I want you all right now to stop and look in the mirror and really appreciate who and what you are right now. Because these years are going to trickle by and they're going to be gone. And you want your years to compound and build on them going forward. I mean, that's for relationships that you're building. It's for perhaps the children that you have that are growing up. It could be your parents that are getting older. You're always building on these relationships, and one year gets better than the last. Think of the same thing for your money, that you want to stop and look right now and say, I want to remember this moment that I'm in. For example, if you're broke right now and you have a negative net worth, then that's fine. Just tell yourself that's where I'm at right now. But that doesn't define who you are and who you become in the future. It just says, this is who you are now. And you can change what you'll become in the future, but only by having the awareness that I've talked about in this episode. Can you make that happen? You can't make it happen any other way. So I want you to stop and look in the mirror and take a picture of yourself if you have to. Take a selfie. Take a selfie and say, this is where I'm at right now. And maybe keep that picture. And then a year later, take another picture. You can do the same with your physical well-being, actually, too, which I'll talk about here in just a minute. But number 3 is just to, remember where you are and be happy in the moment right now, today. And in line with this, I also wanted to add that, for the monetary side of building wealth, and you guys know this, if you go to a calculator, I love dinkytown.net, and if you decided to save, let's say, $2,200 per year from age 25 to 65, you would have about $1,070,000, I think it is, somewhere in there. So if I could go back to my former self and say, Evan, why didn't you wake up and start saving at 25 rather than 40? If I just saved $2,200 from 25 to 65, and yes, I know that seems like a long time, but it's going to go by. At 65, you'd have over $1 million. Now, here's what's interesting about that. Because you are aware, and because you're tracking your money, and because you're going to make more money as you get older, you're going to save more than $2,200 a year. Does that make sense? You have awareness into the future that you want to build for yourself. So you will earmark money for things that you need. You'll look on your radar and say, oh, I need a car. Oh, I want to buy a home. You can still have those things, but this commitment to building wealth is going to be so strong that you're going to not only commit to the $2,200 a year, but in 4 or 5 years, you're going to say, you know what? I can do $3,200 now. I've got a few raises. I'm still saving for this. I'm still saving for that. But I believe in you guys. You're going to be able to up that a little bit more. So by doing that, then you get to the $1 million potentially faster than those 40 years that I just talked about. Does that make sense? Okay, good. Now, before I move on to number 4 and 5, the other thing I want to mention is that if you go to dinkytown.net and you run that calculator of what I just gave you, $2,200 a year for 40 years, and you click on a button that says View Report, you will see that you will have contributed $88,000 of your money. Okay? 88,000. But the interest, the dividends, and the unrealized gains will be $983,000. That's huge. Do you guys realize what I just said right there? I didn't start saving and investing until I was 40 years old. So that meant I had to put in more of my money. In fact, I think I did an analysis once that the $1 million would have been, I had to put so much of my money in. Remember, I'm saving 70% of my income, and I've been doing it because I had to catch up. I didn't start at 25, so I've had to put in more of my money and sacrifice more of my time now. But if you guys start earlier, then the compounding interest is huge. You almost have $1 million in interest, dividends, and unrealized gains alone. I mean, if that doesn't motivate you, I don't know what will. So please, after this episode, think about, go back to your budget. If you don't have a budget, you're going to build your budget. But if you do have a budget, go find that money that you can start putting into your investments. And by the way, that was a 10% annual rate of return in that 40 years. I wanted to mention that as well. That is so huge, and the markets do return about 10% in a 40-year time horizon. So number 4 on the 5 simple money tips for people that are in their 20s and in their 30s is educate yourself. I mean, I talked about it already in this episode by talking about The Millionaire Next Door, but simply educate yourself in personal finance. I had a comment on my channel just recently. Thank you to the person that wrote the comment that said, Evan, do you know any good business books or any personal finance books? And of course, I mentioned this earlier in this episode, but you know, that just resonated with me because it makes me understand that just because I've been so dedicated to wealth building for so many years doesn't mean that other people are even thinking that. And so this person that wrote that comment helped me understand that many of you that have subscribed to my channel, which by the way, I thank you very much for being here. I really enjoy creating these episodes for you. But that told me that many people that have found me, the ASMR Money Mentor, that you may not be thinking the way I've been thinking for the past 20 years. I mean, it's true. You're at a point in your life where maybe you're waking up and you're saying, you know what, I need to figure money out. How am I going to do this? And here's the big secret, everybody. It's not rocket science. Let me repeat that. It is not rocket science, meaning there is no secret to building wealth. Don't let anybody ever tell you that you need to chase returns. Don't let people say you've got to get into risky investments. Now, let me pause for a minute. Some people have asked me about crypto. I'm just old-fashioned. I'm not sure about crypto. It could be a wonderful thing. Maybe you want to do some crypto, maybe, 10% of your portfolio. I don't know. Talk to some financial advisors about it. I'm just sharing with you what I've done and what I found successful for me. But do your research and educate yourself. Find the book that resonates with you. It may not be The Millionaire Next Door. It may not be Susie Orman's The Money Book, but there are so many more resources out there. You'll find something that resonates with you. And make sure you find something that not only resonates with you, but that can carry you through multiple years as you think about that book. It'll help motivate you to stay on track. And the last thing I want to talk about in this episode for the 5 simple money tips for people in their 20s and 30s is, and by the way, this one is not financially related at all, but it is to guard your health and your body. I mean, think about it. We were given one body. That's all we have. I'm 58. You might be 28 years old. I don't know how old you are. You're probably a lot younger than me. Most of my viewers are in their 20s and 30s. And so, you need to, again, look in that mirror and say, how can I be the best possible person physically today? And everything you do, the food that you eat, your nutrition, your exercise, your rest, your ability to perhaps meditate and be calm and keep yourself healthy, goes such a long way. Health and wealth, as I always like to say, go together. And if you want a good, prosperous, long life of happiness, of health and wealth, you really need to take care of yourself. You need to do the exercises and eat the good foods. Find what works best for you. I always like to say it's not the clothes that make the man, it's the man that makes the man. Did I screw that up again? I think I did. I screwed it up the last time too. What am I trying to say? It's more about the body and physique that you create for yourself than the clothes you put on. Does that make sense? You don't want to spend a bunch of money trying to make yourself feel better about how you look or to cover things up. Just like we don't want to go through life with blinders and being in denial that we're broke and living a lifestyle that's above our means only to impress people that we do not know. So, again, the last thing I want to share with you is keep your health, exercise. Your future body will thank you so much, and you'll be around to enjoy the wealth and the security that you create for yourself. So that's what I had for you guys. Please hit the like button for me. I would really appreciate it, and consider